I say tomorrow is Thursday in that letter, it don't really matter whose name is on the letter. Tomorrow is Thursday, right? Y'all understand? So this is how we have to understand and interpret the Bible. So after we come out of the book of Acts, and you got the book of Romans and 1st and 2nd Timothy and Corinthians and Philippians and all those books, I wasn't naming them in order. But thank y'all, I'm not drunk. All right. But when you have all of those books, those are called epistles or letters, and they are addressed to specific people. Now, there are certain things in them that would be applicable to the church and to most all of us, but there are certain things in there that wouldn't necessarily be applicable. So, you know, when people like to be drunks, they always say, well, Paul told Timothy, give a little wine for your stomach's sake. Timothy had stomach problems. And he didn't say, give a little stomach for your wine's sake. He said, give a little wine for your stomach's sake. You know, that would settle your stomach. It wasn't, he didn't mean go get drunk and forget your stomach hurt. Right? So when sometimes we think, well, the scripture said that. It's not like it just said, hey, everybody, y'all get you some wine for your stomach. Right? Okay, all right. So these disciples, and we pointed out, and I want another angle also to look at, that after he told them that they were going to be witnesses, well, first he said they were going to receive power. Don't try to do nothing, in other words, he's saying, without the power. He didn't give them the assignment before telling them what they were going to need for the assignment. You know, I always talk about people be saying they called, but they were sent, and there's a distinct difference in being called and being sent. I think there's a universal calling for everybody to some extent. It doesn't mean that you'll be in the pulpit. It doesn't mean that you'll pastor people, but there is first a call to come to him, you know, ourselves. And then there's also a calling for us to seek those who have not come to him. You know, no matter who you are, everybody, you know, nobody should be comfortable just saying, well, I come and I sit on that 4th row or the 3rd row from the back, or I always sit on the front. You got to know that you have a calling that goes far beyond that. It's far more than just coming to church. And if he tells us that we should be fruitful and multiply, not add, but multiply, you know, there is a distinct difference in adding and multiplying. Typically, when you're multiplying, the number gets greater faster, I think, most of the time. Right? If you're using the same numbers, right?
Like 5 plus 5 is 10, but 5 times 5 is 25.
What is that? And here I've been in the 9th grade 2 times. All right, y'all got that, right? So you can see that he didn't say be fruitful and add, right? He said be fruitful and multiply. We multiply by all of us bringing somebody. And in order to do that, then we have to be effective witnesses, right? Amen. And again, partly why we can't be effective witnesses because we want to be right there, and we want to just come enough to where we got an association, and you know we go to church, but we don't want to go deep enough that where if you catch us out of bounds or off guard or something, you know, we can at least say, well,
call you on it.
You know, that's y'all.
Yeah.
So he tells them that they would receive power, and after that they would become witnesses. But he told them to stay, first off, rather return to Jerusalem and there stay there and wait for the promise. Now again, these men were Galileans, and it was stand to reason that they would have been very much ready to go back to Galilee, right? Where they hometown, where they know everybody, where the rulers wasn't looking for them, where wasn't nobody still mad with them. You remember when Peter had to deny him, you know, because they saw what they were about to do to him, and Peter ain't want none of that. Even though he said he was, you know, I'm ready to go to prison with you, and I'm ready to die with you. And Jesus told him, tried to kill him out. Peter, you don't know what you're saying, baby. No, I'm ready. You know, I got this. You done seen Jesus do some, you know, he done seen him come at Jesus a couple times before that, you know, and they ain't forget him. So I reckon he thought it wasn't going to never happen. So it's easy to say stuff. You know how people say, just call me if you need me, child. And when you need them, I was talking to my son yesterday, and he was real tired. He had driven to Orlando, and he said, my cousin had moved yesterday, and say when he called him, he asked him, and said, well, y'all need any help moving? And I don't know what he was done. They said, yeah, he lucked out that time. But sometimes, you know, we say that and that's not really what we mean, because we just, you know, it's easy to tell something, you know I got your back. Or somebody who you ain't never seen broke, you just rambling it off, because, you know, if nothing else, you want to have your back. You know what I'm talking about? And so you tell a child, you know, you ain't never got to worry about nothing, long as you, hey, look here, you know. But if mess around and they file bankruptcy or something goes wrong with their supply chain, then you be there like you forgot you said it, you know. Yeah. So when you can say stuff like that, when you don't expect, there's no real reason that that you expect that to happen. In fact, we know that when Jesus had told the disciples, well, I'm getting ready to go up to Jerusalem now, and, you know, going to be given over to hands of evil men, going to be put to death, and they're going to do as they please. And Peter jumped up and said, ain't no way. Like he could stop it, you know what I mean? And Jesus told him then, no, Peter, what you're actually saying is how you want it to be. And this is what we do all the time, and this is very important. We talk about how we want it to be, not how God has planned it to be. And the death of God's Son was never going to be something that God couldn't handle. And sometimes in our mind, again, the same thing, because we got it figured out. Just don't let mama die. Don't let this happen, or don't let that happen. And when it does happen, we're devastated and we don't know how to do. But understanding that it's God's will that everybody die, right? Everybody is going to go. We're not going to go all at the same time, but it's a very good chance we all going to go. And then most of us, no matter how old we are, young, you've seen enough people to know that you got a good chance. Even if you're not convinced you're going to die, you know it's a chance. You've seen enough people, you know. So what he's saying is what was his will. And then, but Jesus took it a step further and said, Satan, get behind me. And he went on to say, he's not calling Peter Satan, but what he's saying basically now is that what you're saying does not represent God, it represents the devil. And so many times, whenever what we're saying and doing does not represent God, as relates to our witness or as relates to our calling, then the only other, the only other alternative or the only other option is to be doing what the devil wants, right? You know, because you do understand they want exactly the opposite for us at all times, right? Yeah. There ain't no secret in John 10 and 10, right? You know what they say, don't you? Yeah, the thief comes just to kill, steal, and destroy. He said, but I come that you might have life. That's extreme opposite, right? One of them trying to take what you got. One of them trying to take you out, and the other one trying to put life into you, right? Okay, so we understand that so whenever we're not walking in the will of God, you know, whether it is passively or not, when we're not walking in the will of God, that makes us vulnerable, or it puts us in a path to walking in the will of the devil. And the whole objective now is to please God. But I want to go back to what we talked about the different levels, and I'm going to get right into that. So he said, verse number 12, we got some readers.
Well, which one?
12 and 13, I'm sorry, we're in Acts now. I just wanted to combobulate some stuff back there in Luke, but I'm in Acts now all the way. Acts, the first chapter, I think it's verse 12, and if I got a good reader with their glasses, you can get 13 too. Yeah.
Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olive, which is from Jerusalem a Sabbath day's journey. And when they were come in, they went up into an upper room, where abode both Peter and James and John, and Andrew, Philip, and Thomas, Bartholomew, and Matthew, James, the son of Alphaeus, and Simon Zealot, and Judas, the brother of James.
That's all of them. No, that was all the people was naming. Okay, all right, great. So,
Mine said Judas, the son of James. Yours say the brother of James?
I say the brother.
The brother of James. Judas, and Judas, the brother of James.
some people say the son. Who all say the son?
Mine
The
did.
son of James instead of the brother.
Lord. Well, maybe he had a daddy name. Daddy and a son with the same name. He got a dad and a son with the same name.
I'm checking another reference.
Maybe James wants a joke.
Well, I say he had a dad and a son with the same name.
That doesn't mean he was kin to him. All right.
Okay.
Even though all y'all using King James versions of it,
That's the problem right there.
so everybody, even though it says something different, they all King James.
No, I picked up the English Standard. That's what happened.
All right. Who else has said this, the son? Is it King James version? ESV. Okay. Yours say the son. What version you reading? King James.
Oh, what verse I made?
What version? Is it a King James version Bible?
Yours say the son. Wow.
Maybe Luke didn't know him as well as he thought he did.
Ah!
I mean, that would be easy because he didn't know him at all.
I thought this was King James. That's why I put it in this.
Was Paul there?
It said Peter, John, and James, and Andrew. Philip and Thomas, Bartholomew, and Matthew, and James.
No Paul.
Uh-uh.
All right. All right. No Paul.
But in his name, but now,
No, it's very much different.
Paul and Saul is Saul.
Right, yes.
But Saul was there.
Right.
He named 11, no?
Right, it was 12. Judas had hung himself already. It's in the lesson in a minute. Judas had hung himself.
Well, it should have been 12 before he hung himself.
That's what made it 11. Get that math again. 12 hung himself. That's another Judas. Look at it. What it say? What do it say?
Oh, that's why.
What do it say?
Judas, the brother of James.
Now that dead one, that ain't none of James. That dead one ain't none of James.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I reckon both of them did that.
When he done with die first.
That was Judas Iscariot.
It's Iscariot.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, they came back to Jerusalem from Mount Olive, and which was a Sabbath day's journey. What did that mean?
A week.
No.
About 3/4 of a mile. Be no more than that on the
I thought it said
Saturday.
on Sabbath day.
No. A Sabbath day's journey meant
A maximum distance
of 2,000 paces.
one could travel on the Sabbath without being considered work.
Which seems
According
like a
to the
lot
latest Jewish
based on
tradition.
the distance. Basically, a Sabbath, they had something that was called a day's journey, which would have probably been 20 to 25 miles.
That's what it said.
But a Sabbath day's journey is not, because first off, we wasn't allowed to travel that far on the Sabbath day because that would have been considered as working.
So it said, that's what it said, the maximum distance they could travel on the Sabbath without it being considered work.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it said?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. All right. All right. You wasn't just saying that to make me look real good.
And the rabbis was only limited to 0.6 miles.
They wouldn't walk that many now. All right.
No, but that's what it said.
So Luke left off saying that they worshiped Jesus first and they were joyful, full of joy. But they didn't go back to their comfort zone. They went back to the place where they were fearful. They went back to the place where they were isolated, they were in hiding, and they were nervous, right? And not just that, but also, what's the word?
What are you trying to say?
No, I think I said that. You know, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing what to expect. What you call that? Training. You know, I don't know about no apprehension.
Anticipation. In anticipation of whatever the situation will be.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Anxious, I guess.
Anxious.
Right, because we always coming up, anxious meant you can't wait for something, but that's not really what anxious means.
Right.
Right? That means you're eager, right, or excited. Anxious means that you're worried about it. Right? All right, but just as kids, we always, don't be, because we were told, don't be so anxious. You know, this came, anxious were anxious about Christmas, which we was anxious about Christmas. So that's probably what the best example. All right, yeah, you could eat oranges and watch other people ride their bikes. All right, so they went a 7-day journey, so we know that meant it wasn't that far, right? All right, that's enough for that. And also, I believe that's how far they went when Mary and Joseph had lost Jesus and he was back in the temple and they went looking for him. And that, again, also the other reasoning for that was when they traveled like that, the first day that they went, they didn't go far distances because of the fact it wouldn't be on the Sabbath. In case you left something or forgot something, you wouldn't have to go 30 miles to go back and get it. Because you probably realized it that day or whatever. Of course, I don't know what you could have forgot, but just the same. That's what they teach us. So it said when they were coming in, they went up into an upper room. So, and it said where abode Peter and James and John. Now listen, where it said they abode, this don't mean this is where they slept, but this is where they were staying. And this is an upper room, so undoubtedly they had if they were in a guest house, the bottom part was where they ate and fellowship and did all these type things, and then typically upstairs or in the loft or in the what's known as the top floor is where they would have their prayer, Bible study, and all of that type of thing. So, and also they were still going perhaps at set times to the temple as well. So it wasn't like when, you know, we've always had this thing where they were just shot up in there in that room, you know, for 10 days just saying Jesus, 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 you know. Oh Lord, I'm on thing, man. Well, it wasn't just being locked up in a room saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus for 10 days. You know, in the Holy Church, that's what they teach. You know, because the scripture said they was steadfastly or continuously calling on the name of Jesus. That just means that that's still who they were praying to and who they were trusting in. It wasn't like you saying Jesus, 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 it just don't sound like nothing. You know, wasn't no real reason to do that. Plus, what about, how many of us have kids or somebody, if you got a child, how many of y'all never said, if I hear mama one more time today, or if I hear that, anybody ever just felt like that?
Everybody. Oh yeah.
And now if somebody, if every time they call you and you say what, if they just say, well, I need a nickel, I want orange or apple, or what they say, okay, that's still all right. But just imagine somebody just calling your name over and over. And they don't say nothing. Don't ask you nothing, just keep calling. What sense would that make? Any? Go But we were taught that's where you get the power from. Just keep calling on Jesus, 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 you know. And it sounds good, and I think people did get power like that because that's what they were taught, and that was where their faith was. So, you know, God is not going to disown us or disallow us based on our ignorance because of what somebody else taught us. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that people got saved like that. I really do believe that. I believe that, you know, because God can save you however He wants to save you.
Amen.
But I think that some of them probably was already saved. You know what I mean? They had already done the work necessary to receive. When you ask, He said, when you ask and you believe, you have Him. You know you have Him because that's what He said. When you ask and you believe that you have Him. But they always wanted something that they could quantify. They wanted something that they could verify. So they would stand over you and tell you, just keep calling Jesus, come over here, Jesus. And I mean, I've tried that junk. I really have. I remember. That's forgiven. You know, they had me doing that when I was a young boy. And, you know, they would stand all over you. The old ladies would be standing all over you. Come and call him, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And see, Maureen was standing over me. And I know Jesus, I mean, you know, because Maureen. You can't concentrate like that. You know what I mean? And sometimes some of the folks standing over you was further from Jesus than what you was. You understand what I mean? And so sometimes what they were teaching wasn't the best way, but they always want something that they can quantify, something that makes you do the work instead of God doing the work. And that's why when we start talking about such and such, ain't no way they saved much as they did. Well, yeah, that might be true if you had to save yourself. But the fact that God does the saving, it don't matter what all you had done, right? He was still had the power. He got power to save one. He got power to save the other.
That's right.
And then He didn't have to die a different time for each one of us.
Right.
The scripture says He went in one time. He didn't have to go no more. That covered everybody. So when we got this mindset, and it's just been ingrained in us, just like ain't no way for such and such to be saved based on their past history, right? Based on what we know about them, stuff they have done, which has no real correlation, other than the fact that it would be opposite of what we think, because when Jesus posed it, Jesus asked, which one you think is going to love the most, or which one you think is the one that's forgiven the most. So a lot of times, the person, and that's why we come in, and you know, the church I used to try to pastor, they'd be jealous when young people come in and Lord save them and deliver them. Maybe they just putting on air. No, the Lord did something. You just said that because you feel like you didn't need God. You feel like you all right because you ain't did but a little something and can't do that no more. You're not any better than those people. And if you know, we got this little proverbial sin meter that says if you sin this much, or if you did this here, you know, it's just nearly impossible to be saved. And that has absolutely no bearing on your ability to be saved.
That's
all
right.
you got to do is have a repentant heart and ask God to save you and believe that He got the power to do it, and believe in the process or the concept of how we become saved, which is becoming very important. When we go to the book of Jude, 10 years from now, just way back there. And when we get to the book of Jude, Jude's central theme is contending for the faith. And he says in there, it's only one chapter, one book, you know, and he says in there that he had intentions on writing about some other stuff and becoming salvation and trying to establish that, but he says he found the need to remind the saints that they have to contend or fight for the faith. And that's very important because, again, as we keep talking, you hear me keep talking about this same thing about the problem and the reason why it's so crucial. You hear me keep talking about how I'm just baffled at how many believers, church people who go to church all the time, all their life, and when somebody dies, they can't get past it. And that is troubling and disturbing, not because I'm insensitive, but it's troubling and disturbing because that's what our salvation is based on. That's what our Christianity, our belief is based on, the fact that we believe that Jesus died, What else we believe?
He rose.
With all power, and that
All
if
power
we
in his
believe
hand.
in
Yes,
Him,
sir.
that He's gonna get us up, right? So if that's our belief, and that's what we hanging everything on, how is it that when death comes, that won't make you want to cancel everything?
My Lord.
Y'all see where I'm concerned about
Gotcha.
that?
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
insensitive, or I'm not desensitized to
That's
death,
right.
but that's the thing that we have to hold on to, and that's what ought to strengthen us, and that's where we have to draw our strength and our encouragement from the God who we believed in to start with. Because if you can't believe in Him at that time, I mean, of all times, that's the time when it's most necessary to believe in Him. Let me just say it that way. All right.
Hallelujah.
So we talked a little while ago about Peter, and it's important because here he is again. But we talked about when Peter said, Lord, I'm ready. I'm all in. I'm ready to go to prison with you, die with you, or whatever. Now, you know, flicking where you ain't trying to go, ain't nobody, I ain't ready to go to prison with nobody. He must have had some pretty good prison.
All right.
He had some good lunches and something. I'm ready to go to prison with you. I'm ready to die. Now, come on now. You talking because you just think Jesus can't die because when they tried to kill him before, it didn't work. But that was because it wasn't time. Now, but you done running him out and don't know that he done told you. You ain't listening that he is going to die. Right? And you done forgot that. So now, when they get here, they done arrested Jesus and getting ready to take him for trial. There Peter and them, all the other disciples start dropping out one by one, maybe probably 2 by 2 or 3 by 3. They all start just leaning back a little. The closer he went, the further dropped back they got. But Peter, he still wanted to see what happened to him, so he's trying to follow, kind of this. And how we do, we want to see what's going to happen with this church. We still keep up with it, even when we quit going. Y'all still have night service. He's still always running all over the place, preaching. They still want scratch that off.
Amen.
They still want to know what happened. They ain't in it, but they still need to know.
Yeah, say it back.
And so Peter, following from a distance, still trying to see what was going to happen to Christ. Not that he wanted none of that. Right. He knew it whatever it was. It didn't look like it was about to be no good stuff, But he's still trying to follow from a distance and watch what happens to him. And he got approached. Somebody said, hey, wasn't he with it? And, who, me? I don't even know him. What is you looking for? I mean, what? I don't know. But Jesus told him, listen, before the cock crowed, now listen. That didn't make the cock crow. The cock was going to crow every morning. Right. All he was saying before, just saying, we might have to say before 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever. That's all he was saying. They didn't really have the kind of clocks we had with big bins and stuff. So all he's saying is the cock going to crow. You're going to get them denied me 3 times 4 in the morning. So this is what you're saying right now this evening.
My Lord.
But at 4 in the morning, 4:40 in the morning, you're going to be denied me 3 times. Right? Okay, that's all it meant. When some preachers be preaching, they got the cock really showing the flat crowing and stuff. But all I'm saying is that, in the morning, before wake up time, you're going to be denied me 3 times. And Jesus, if he said something going to happen, you just look for it to happen.
My Lord.
Then he said somebody else come to there and somebody, no, that's him. You know what you know. Like
I saw you with him. I saw you with him.
And the next time, later said he was with him, and he went on and said his speech gave away. He said he speaks like a Galilean. You right here, ain't nobody else talking like that. And then you right here, you was with him. And then it said that he began to cuss. Now, this is not cuss. It's not, not that. It was swearing that it was I swear for God it wasn't mentioned. I don't know that. Yeah. That's what he was doing. All right.
Right.
Okay. Since we understand that, because again, we got some of these deep preachers now that have been down to the cemetery, And they got their degree from the cemetery. And they, you know, we get good to them. They'll tell you some of the words you use, you know. But when Jesus rose and the women who remained, you know, so sometimes, you know, people be talking like, oh, don't let the women do this in church. Well, when the truth is really told, if it wasn't for the women, it wouldn't be no church.
Amen. Say that.
Because when all them had run away, and with the expectation that he dead, and the women went to the tomb, he tells them, go tell my disciples, go on family. Go tell the scared cats. They meet me. Right? Go tell the scared cats to meet me. And then he went on to specify and said, and tell Peter too. That's very important. Because sometimes we done denied him. You might not have did it right. You might not have said it like Peter said it. But you done got there, you done acted like you didn't know nothing about it when they was talking about it, you know, and it wasn't convenient for what you were trying to do at the moment. You done went on like you didn't, you know, like you ain't had nothing to do with it, right? And so we still need to know that, because again, I told you all before that the devil has a way of encouraging us to do what's wrong. And, you know, even by reminding us of that we've grown. And then at the same time, he will bring conviction, or condemnation rather, to us because of the fact that we did it. But he only brings the condemnation at the point where you should be worshiping, or you should be, you know, in other words, you can be done something wrong and it don't bother you all week. And if you miss church a week, it don't bother you, I mean, none of that week, even until when you come back to church, right? And then soon as you sit down and feel like you feel something and want to get into it, that the devil going to remind you about what he suggested that you do, and told you you was grown and big enough to do it, and now he reminds you about it, because he come to bring condemnation. We talked about this, right? Condemnation and conviction, those are penal terms, and we know the difference in them, right?
Yes,
Which one
sir.
is the good one for us? Conviction. So the bad one is condemnation? Yeah, all right. Y'all understand that? Conviction means, come from the root word convince, basically. And to convict means to find that you did it. You know, that you were wrong. But condemnation means measuring out the punishment. And sometimes, you know, you've done something wrong and it was well established. It was established that you had done something wrong, but you escaped the punishment. And conviction, I told you, it works when conviction comes, it feels sometimes worse than condemnation, because when conviction comes, again, it seems like you know it's you and everybody in here knows it's you. You know, so you don't even want to look around. Getting all scooching all under the pew, trying to get behind somebody, play with babies and all that kind of stuff. You know, to try to throw it off. And like I said, don't nobody know, just go and say amen real loud. Real loud. And they'll think it's somebody else. Real loud. They'll think it's somebody else. That's how you have to do with that conviction. But it's designed that way, because if it doesn't cause us to think, if it doesn't cause us to realize that we did something that wasn't right, if it doesn't do that, then we don't stand a real chance. And I often talk to Brother Rudolph about that. You know, whenever preaching takes place, there'll always be conviction, not just a person over here and a person over there. You know, no preacher don't have no good enough shot to be aiming at nobody. You know, you just let God do, you say what God says, and the Spirit is what does the conviction. And sometimes we can all be convicted off the same message, but we all heard something totally different.
Yes.
I told y'all, and Reverend Stovall used to testify all the time that when he was convicted about paying tithes and started paying tithes, he said it was in the middle of a sermon and I was preaching, and I said nothing remotely close to tithes. The sermon wasn't about that. It had absolutely nothing to do with that. But God, through the Spirit, does the convicting, and whatever that conviction is about, that's between you and God. And you don't have to feel like everybody know that it's you, because God is speaking to you, and if God wanted everybody to know, He'd write it on your head with big letters where everybody can see it. If He wanted everybody to know that that's who it's for. That's not what conviction is designed for.
Amen.
And condemnation comes from the devil, and conviction comes from God. Conviction is a good thing. That's what gets us where we need to be. You know, sometimes you don't want to hear stuff, but you know, like if we driving, and I know y'all always say, men just don't want to ask nobody for directions, but women always pull over. You know, so if you're driving and you don't ask nobody for directions, the longer you go without getting directions, when you finally get something, the worse it's going to be. You ever had a nigga reach all back with some old big suspenders on time? Yeah! Man, you you just made 4 lefts and 2.5 rights back there by that big tree, you know. Then you just go whichever way. Just wherever you're going, just go anywhere, right? But if you had just when it was questionable, was that where I was supposed to turn? You had to ask somebody right then. You might have said, no, it's 1 more block up. Or you could have just said, you missed the block. But that, either way, you wouldn't have been but a block. Yeah. Now, you know, I told y'all one time. I first started driving. I was taking my mama to Shreveport, where my brother was living. And we jumped in the car, and it was about dark, and they didn't have them GPDs like they got now, cell phones. And I went to do this little thing you do, like when we go in Oklahoma, it's a little thing you do. You go there through Mobile, and you get off over there on Government, and you hit 98, and then you do some swiveling around. But I didn't do the swivel around. And we had been riding about 2 hours, I'd say. And the thing said Atmo 14 miles. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sometimes, don't y'all tell nobody about it. Sometimes, you know, that's how we do in life. You don't want to ask for no direction. You think you know where you're going. You think you know where you're going. You think you're right. But once you find out, it's a whole lot worse. It had been better to get some direction. You understand that? So, yeah. And you know, Mama said, baby, that's the right way. You know, but that's all she said. She didn't know. No, she was, you know, our mom was to do sometimes, just sitting there like, you know what I'm talking about.
She was sleeping and brain fell apart.
Remember, every time she wake up, you be getting another ticket, and she gotta
Yeah.
Baby, you showed this the right way? All right. So it says, when they would come, so it named specifically that Peter was there. Not only that, it names him first. So sometimes we fall down, but we get up, right? You know, don't just be falling to see, right? But if we fall down, we can get up, right? Don't let.
That's right.
We ain't trying to exercise. Just falling down and getting back up. It ain't no exercise class. But when you fall down, you can get back up. That's the beauty of him, and whatever it is, we have this opportunity. Judas could have, but, well, first off, the scripture said that he wouldn't, but when Judas messed up, and, you know, he betrayed him and offered, they gave him 30 pieces of silver to betray the Christ, and after what the scripture said, he had a change of heart and felt bad by it. And he come back and told the religious leaders, you know, the high priest among them, so man, look, you know, all the other way, I'm paraphrasing, but like, man, that was bad. I shouldn't have did that. Here, y'all get the money back.
What is that?
Yeah, they done asked him, well, what is that to us? You see, too. Well, it was everything to them. They were the priests. If you had done sinned and messed up, that's who you come to. And that's who he made the deal with. It would have been incumbent upon them to rectify it or to put him back where he was supposed to be. But sometimes that's what happens. So let me see what did happen. So it lists these names of people, and let me make a real quick point here. You said it was 11 names, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it lists 11 names of people by name.
Yes, sir.
Right, that's right. Everybody agree with that? You can count them right quick if you need to, but somebody said it was 11. I just like what you call said. They have to take their word for it.
It's 11.
All right, 11 names. Now, one of the things that this does for us in telling us these 11 names that was there, one of the bigger things this does for us is it tells us who wasn't there.
Yes.
All right.
In other words, I wasn't there. Your name on there?
Paul wasn't there.
I wasn't there. Y'all said Paul wasn't there, right?
He wasn't there.
I wasn't there. Was you there with me?
There's a fellow named James there now.
Yes. All right. So, and this is very important, all right?
Yes, sir.
I'm enjoying myself, but this is very important. Because it says when they would come in, they went up into the upper room where both Peter and 10 other people. And then it says, these all continued with one accord, with the same purpose, with the same intent.
That's right.
In prayer and supplication.
Yes.
With the women. And Mary, the mother of Jesus. And with his brethren, as in Jesus' biological family, his close kin.
His four brothers.
Which some said that some of them didn't even believe in him until this point.
Right.
You know. But what we reference here is it talks about Mary, the mother of Jesus, and these were the same people who it talks about was at the tomb when they found that he had risen or whatever. These were the same people. So these people, again, had a certain level of commitment, a certain level of dedication, a certain level of see it through. In other words, most people, once they move it over, you know, I told you, some people, when they go to move it, be sitting there, dang, he ain't have to end like that. You watching the credits and everything. You know, the people that try to clean up and you still sitting there saying, you all was the co-star and all that. And then there's other people who, once it's over, when it's almost over, they be already, you know, like you know, trying to get out there and get out before the traffic gets started or whatever, you know. Some people have, I don't want to miss nothing. And then there are some people who it don't matter what they miss, right? And this is important and it's significant because it's like, let me see, I'm trying to give an example, but it's got to make good sense. I've got some examples, but they don't make the best sense. So I'm trying to think this out. All right, let's just say like in the 70s. The lady who went to the hairdresser the most probably had some of the best hair in the 70s. Not, I mean, when they had the royal crown, I mean, the blue natty and the straightening comb or whatever what they had. And you know what you got, you know, the more attention you give it, the more you feed it, the more you take care, the better shape it's going to be in, right? I mean, anything you got, the more you get familiar with it. If you got a dog, and, well, you know how I say a dog. Right. And if you got a dog, and you spend a lot of time with the dog, If somebody come messing with you, the dog liable to bite them. But on the other hand, you got a dog and you don't spend no time, he might bite you. You see what I'm saying? Some stuff, you know, if the people that go to school, everybody go to school, but the people that open the book and read, I'm trying to, they gonna know the most. You know what I mean? It's people that was in school, like how I went to school, and I would go. But some classes, you know,
Air down there.
you know how some classes were. I mean, and so, but people that went to the class, see, they know algebra and stuff like that. Really. You see what I'm talking about? And, but people who choose not to go, and then consequentially, they don't, sometimes can't get good jobs, or can't properly communicate, or can't defend them. You know, if you can't read, you know how the scripture said that people perish for a lack of knowledge? I mean, that's literal and spiritual, you know. You can die from not being used to the signs, somebody danger, keep out. Usually all they said, dig in or something, and you just went on up in there. You know, you're going to perish for that lack of knowledge. You know, sometimes because there are people who have the mindset, you don't have to be there all the time. It don't take all that. It don't, you know, and the least amount of anything that you get has the least effect.
Yes.
Y'all understand?
Yes.
You know, like my partial, just say. I just want to say it because I'm losing weight and it keeps slipping. I want to take it out, but I don't. Yeah. Okay, but just say like my partial. All right, if you just got one tooth on the partial, but you're missing 6 teeth.
It literally is a part.
Right. But there's a lot of stuff you couldn't eat. Right, but there's a lot of stuff you couldn't eat. It wouldn't really do you a whole lot of good. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you're gonna get a portion, just put something in all the spots, right? Right. You can eat corn on the cob. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So, well, y'all give me an example then. I can't think of nothing. Just say like, all right, then. Just say like, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, but what is the question first?
I'm talking about, again, that there are different levels that people are on. And they're on different levels because of the level of dedication that they have or commitment. So when you're not in it, so say like, if you've ever seen people that, just say like praise dancers, and I wasn't here Sunday, and I don't know, I heard they did great. But just say like, and I ain't even talking about our praise dancers, but like some of them other places. You ever see the people praise dancing, and it's always one up there who got to look to see what they're doing. That's the one that wasn't in practice. You see what I'm talking about? Always distracted while at practice. Y'all see what I'm saying? So sometimes, you know, and then when you hear these people, you know, sometimes because big preachers say things and they seem to be profound and everybody jump on it and start saying all this old foolishness talking about favor ain't fair. Favor is fair. That's what it is, favor. But what's fair about it is that whatever I I need to do to gain favor. It's what you can do to gain favor. God ain't gonna like it. He ain't like us. He gonna like something from me but hate it from you. God ain't like that. That's not how God is.
Amen.
You understand?
Yeah, because with God, he levels the playing field so
Yes.
everybody can
Yes.
play.
Yes.
Not how much you want, that's how much you go
That's
practice.
That's right.
Yes, right.
But if
That's
you
up to
don't
you.
practice and learn what it is and how to play, then you can't be good at what you do because you didn't go to practice.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's
Yes, sir.
I was going to give you the example.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I guess a good example would be if you learn to pray, and whenever you start off, you're an apprentice. You don't know much. You may spend more hours on the job. Maybe you're doing more reading, more study than the people who do know more in order to learn more of the skills. And then, you graduate on to the next level. Which will be, you're a higher level at that point. And at that higher level, you're able to work by yourself. You're able to explain to other people and train other people on the trade. And as you move on up, now you're managing people. And not only are you managing people, but you're also able to branch out, basically reap the benefits of everything you've been trading and learning up to that point. You can start your own business. You can, big corporations maybe trying to call you to get your skills.
Yeah.
And
Right.
take advantage of the skills that you have.
Amen. Amen.
Or, I was trying not to use it. But one time, I wasn't looking where I was going, and I looked up and I was in the casino. And
I can't. I can't.
you know how you just be just riding or whatever. Well, like sometimes you hear people say, like, dang, I should have had the max. I knew it wasn't going to do nothing until I put it on 15 cents.
I gotta say,
Not tonight, man. Come on. But do you understand the concept?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, I was reading somewhere. You read. And it says some machines don't pay. You can't get the jackpot unless you play the max. But the only time it'll do it is if you ain't playing the max.
right.
You see what I'm saying? Sound pretty knowledgeable there.
All they gonna do is take your money.
All right, so in other words, sometimes what you put in is what you get out. That's what I'm really trying to say. And if you don't invest, we can invest in everything but God, everything but our relationship with God, and not just with God, but relationships. Period. It's based on what you put in or the effort that you put. And now there comes a time when, with relationship, I'm not talking about with God, but just in relationship, there comes a time when you can even put too much, and you got to know when to just go ahead on, right? You understand that too? But I'm still saying otherwise, on an even playing field, it's based on what you put in. If somebody says, here's a field for you, go out and plant crops and whatever, you can use the whole field, whatever you want to use, you go out there and put 3 seeds in the ground, in 4 acres. I mean, you had 4 acres of stuff you could have had, but you had to put something
In it in order to get a reward.
all over, right?
Yes.
And so with God, we want to put the minimum and expect the maximum. And then be discouraged, disappointed when we don't get the maximum. And there's no real reason most of us eating the babies know that you know, logical stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Babies, little bitty children. When I be messing with BJ, I had asked him the other day, do his teacher know her numbers? Papa, why wouldn't she know her numbers? But you know, the babies know logic. You understand? And sometimes we want to act as if though logic don't have no place. You know, like where we just still think God ought to do this. Now we angry or letting the devil say God don't care, God don't love us. It ain't about that. We chose to do how we wanted to do instead of how God told us to do. And as a result, that's the consequence.
Amen.
Now, be grown enough to accept those consequences. Don't give God a bad name.
That's
don't
right.
Talking like you don't believe in God.
Amen.
Oh, God ain't no, you know, this or that. No. These are the consequences we brought upon ourselves.
Amen.
And if I looked somewhere and didn't know where I was looking and wound up in the wrong place, I accept the consequence for that. Right? All right. And I ain't gonna call you either. So all these, yes ma'am, I'm sorry.
I was looking at some papers that I was going through, some notes that I had in November 2013. You had, I think you did the sermon, Remember God and He Will Remember You. That was 2013. And I'm like, oh my God. So I went back last night and it was November the 20th, 2013.
Oh, girl, stand for me to preach it again. Here you go.
I'm saying, when I say, oh, remember God and He will remember you.
Right.
That's something to always remember.
Right.
Oh man, that was
I bet that was out of the book of Judges, wasn't it?
And then what happened was, I said, see, a lot of times I relate a lot of things to 13. 13 and 17. G's birthday and my birthday. I don't know. It always, even the time, I look at the clock, it's 10:13. 9:13. I'm like, oh my God. Then I just like, oh, good, you know.
Got one more number?
13. 13. I look at that clock. When I'm looking at the clock, it's a 13 on the 9. I say, it's my day. It's my day. Good things happen. At this time.
All right, y'all stop.
Yes.
Is on verse 13. So these all continue with prayer and supplication with the women, right? With the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brother. And it says in verse 15, let me just see what that says. We finna stop for real. And it said, in those days, Peter stood up in the midst of the disciples and said, the number of names together were about 100. Wait a minute, hang on. He didn't say the number of names. It's saying what he said, but in parentheses it said the number of names of the people that were there was about 120 people all total. Right. So we had the 11 disciples, and how many more people? Huh? 109. Well, I ain't got to be exact. I'm just trying
120.
No, 120.
Minus the, minus the 11. Yeah.
All right. So, that's who was here in this upper room, 120 people, right? That these were dedicated or committed people. So now, it started out as a prayer meeting, and now we're going to see
a lot of people.
Just how churches do. It went from prayer meeting to business meeting. And I told y'all, when I used to try to pastor other church, you don't care what night you make business meeting, you always going to have more cars than you got for prayer meeting. Now, it was stand the reason with them 1 or 2 little nippers they had. You needed more prayer than you did business, right? But because in business meeting, you don't have to use Christian words and stuff. You know, I got to speak my mind. You know, you see men and that, oh, I got to speak my mind. You work all day on the job and you don't speak your mind. You sit up in there, your wife here, you don't sit up here and speak your mind. And now all of a sudden, because you're in the house of the Lord and they ain't expect nobody to hit you, you got to speak your mind. So business meeting has always drawn a larger crowd. I'm telling you people who don't even be going, let them find out business meeting. Yeah, I know about that. You come there, you see big parking lot all full, you think it's revival. Well, it's revival about that. You run up in there, you want it. They got some stuff going on. Ain't nobody ain't using no church words, ain't none of that. You know, I have them tell me, Rev, I ain't talking about the Bible. I'm talking about this, Robert Rule of Order. You know, Robert Rule of Order. Robert Rule of Order, man, in the house of the Lord.
Right. Robert was a man. Robert was a man.
But they went from prayer meeting to business meeting, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let me see. It says Peter got up. Here you go.
Spokesman Peter.
Yeah. Men and brothers, this scripture must need. I'm just gonna read this. I ain't gonna do nothing with them. Take any question here we do. But listen what he said. Men and brothers. We can talk about it next week. Men and brothers, this scripture must needs have been fulfilled, which the Holy Ghost by the mouth of David spake before concerning Judas, which was a guide to them that took Jesus. In other words, Judas, he's saying that David prophetically in the book of Psalms, somebody, if you see if you can find the scripture for me, he's going to quote two of them actually, but he said that David spake before concerning Judas, which was a guide to them that took Jesus. For he was never with us and had obtained part in his ministry. Now this man purchased the field with the reward of iniquity, and falling headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and all his bowels gushed out. Woo. Talking about Judas and how he died. And you know, in the gospel it says he hanged himself, but Luke gets pretty explicit. He lets you get the kind of,
yeah, like Luke.
You know, like Miss Tammy always want to watch CSI and stuff. This CSI here for you. You know, bowels gushed out, he bust or something. This some stuff for you to put in your mind here. You know. Yeah. All right, and it said. And it was known unto all the dwellers at Jerusalem, insomuch as that the field is called in their proper tongue Al-Sadima, that is to say, the field of blood. And then it says, again he says, for it is written in the book of Psalms, let his habitation be desolate, let no man dwell therein, his bishopric let another take. And I believe this is one of those what some other people used to call the Obama prayer. You know, where they talk about let his wife be a widow and his children be fatherless, you know, and I mean these Christians, the other kind of Christian, that's what they used to pray about Obama. You know, but again, now, nothing says that, it says that they were all praying and so forth, and said bad, they were praying, and it just said, and although and behold, here people and jumped up. Worry about something that we have no indication and probably to the contrary that God said to do this or that this was their business. I asked y'all about Paul a while ago. Paul wasn't there because Paul wasn't a disciple. Yeah. Paul was not converted yet. He wasn't saved yet. He had not met Jesus. And so that's why Paul wasn't there. I wanted to make sure we get this, because the book of Acts started out talking about Peter. Peter's like the main character, and then it comes a point when Paul becomes the main character, and you know, you only hear a couple more things about Peter, and they wasn't necessarily good things. One time where Paul said he told him off to his face, and another time where they had a discrepancy about the Gentile doctrine versus the Jewish doctrine, and they went up before them to meet him. So they went from prayer meeting to business meeting. We're going to talk about this next week. I was supposed to have some questions and stuff, but y'all know what happened. I couldn't answer the question myself Sunday. So when we come back, I'm gonna try to have that so we can have us a guide. But next week we're gonna talk about the business meeting part. Any questions, remarks, or comments? But I want y'all to read that so you know what we got coming up. So you know what kind of questions I might ask. Well, you don't know what kind of example I might give when it comes to
It did say Jesus had 4 brothers.
Ma'am?
It did say Jesus had 4 brothers.
Huh?
It did say Jesus had 4 brothers.
I didn't say it didn't.
I just said it did. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
When you said the brethren,
Yeah.
It just said he had 4 brothers, and I had never seen that.
Right, but when we were talking about that, we were talking about,
Yeah, when they went in the room, when they was with Mary, their mother,
yeah.
and the brethren.
Right,
Yeah, I just wanted
Yes.
to say that.
That's well established, but they were all younger because, you know,
Right.
Mary and Joseph had not capitulated until after Jesus was born.
And later on, his brother named James became an apostle.
Right. Because again, like I said earlier, up to that point, he didn't believe in him as the Christ. I mean, he believed he was his brother.
Yeah.
He didn't believe that he was the Son of God.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
just like a lot of people, we have different points when we come to believe. And sometimes we get discouraged. Lord, my brother, my husband, my wife, I wish they would just get saved. Everybody got their own time when they come to the Lord.
Amen.
And everybody got their own degree that they come. Some people ain't gonna come but so far. Some people ain't gonna never get off the back row. Some people ain't gonna never pray or sing or testify or do anything. Some people just not going to do anything. But whoever do it, they came at their own time. Did nobody come before they got ready? No one. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever got saved for real before they got ready. And so, you know, the best thing to do when you have somebody that you want to be saved, first thing is being prayerful for them. Second thing is being an effective witness yourself. Again, if you come home for us and about what you didn't like about church, I used to have to say this at my other church, but I don't worry about that over here. But if you go on and talk about the preacher and what you didn't like, ain't nobody trying to go up there to the church with you. And then when they do come, they look around and say, who is Sam? They're already looking for him because, you know, he the one get on your nerves. Now he got to listen to you every week. So he already ready to go upside his onion because, you know. So, you know, in other words, it's kind of like when you're in a relationship and people give you the advice and tell you, don't never tell your family when y'all get into it. Because when y'all get back lovey-dovey, your family still looking sideways. And it's kind of the same way. When you got grievance, and first off, the scripture said if you got out with your brother, take it to your brother home. And then if that don't work, take him before him and a witness. If that don't work, take him before the elders. If that don't work, then the scripture said, then let it be as he is. You know, at that point, you done your job. But to go outside first, and I keep telling you, every church that fall apart, and none of them can say that they fell apart from somebody from on the outside. So ain't nobody coming here threatening the church. They're talking about tearing it apart. When it comes to pieces, it come from the people that's on the inside, not people on the outside. And everybody got their time. You can expedite. If you know, if you go somewhere and you like it, you know, it becomes apparent because you talk about it and you know, you start talking about it. But if you love the Lord and then you get home and you tell me, one time my cousin said, my cousin told me, said, man, see, he had a friend that would come here sometime.